Hey everybody, it's me again. Thanks for listening. I'm sure you're so excited to hear today's podcast about living in the present. And then next week we'll wrap up this little trilogy that we have with talking about the future. Now, for those of us who have depression, a lot of the time we try not to live in the present. We think it's a better idea to live in the past or maybe sometimes live in the future, but mostly we like to stay in kind of a buffer zone that keeps us away from reality altogether, right? We overeat to feel better, but we're not really living. We take naps to feel better, but we're not really living. We look through Instagram to feel better, but we're not really living, right? So that's where we spend most of our time, is kind of outside the realm of reality. And it's because we don't want to live in the present. We think that the present is bad for us. And there's a bunch of reasons. And it's not just people with depression, but we have okay reasons, if there is a good reason, to not want to live in the present. So maybe we're going through a difficult time. Maybe we're really struggling with some difficult negative emotions. And we really just think that the past was better or the future will be better. Why would I want to live in the present right now when right now stinks so bad, right? I will be happy when I get that money, or when I buy the house or the car that I want. I will be happy when I'm skinny and healthy. I was happier before when I had family all around me and I didn't move to this isolated area. When I have what I want, I'll be happy, but right now I'm not, so I don't want to live right here, right? Those are the reasons, some of the reasons why we don't live in the present. Sometimes we don't want to live in the present simply because it's a little uncomfortable, right? Like when you've got a toddler, you're like, this potty training, this is really difficult. I don't really like this. I can't wait until they're older and they've already got this, because then we'll be better than now. Or with teenagers, right? Oh, I wish they were little again because they were much easier to manage than when they were all going off on their own, making their own decision and taking the car keys. We think somehow that then, either back then or in the future then, we'll be happy. It'll somehow be better than it is right now. Another uncomfortable thing we might want to skip over is changing ourselves, like developing ourselves, putting ourselves outside of our comfort zone, right? Like I'm going for this goal and it's really challenging and very uncomfortable, but when I finally reach the goal, then I'll be happy. So let's kind of just pretend we're not here, just get through it so that then we can be happy. But all these things are really just lies that we are telling ourselves. Life was not better then than it is now, and it will not be better in the future than it is now. Life is always 50-50. You're always going to have 50% positive emotions and things going on, and you're always going to have 50% negative emotions and things going on. But what our brain does when it's looking to the past or looking to the future, it kind of emphasizes the things that are good and diminishes the things that were not so good. Childbirth, for example. It's horrible when we're going through it, and then at the end we have this baby and we're like, oh, this is so great, the miracle of life, and I want to do this again. And your husband's like, what? It was horrible, don't you remember? We don't, because our brain emphasizes those good parts. And when we believe that the past was better or that the future can be happier than we are right now, we miss out on and minimize the happiness that we can feel right now. When we live in the present moment, it helps us to feel more alive. First of all, that's the biggest reason, I think, that we should want to be in the present moment, because the future doesn't exist yet. It only exists in your mind. And the past doesn't exist anywhere else but in your mind too. It's just a story that you have to tell, right? And if you ask somebody else who was there, sharing an experience with you in the past, to share their story of the same experience, you're going to get a different story. So the past and the future, they're just stories that are in your mind, and the present is where we live. And if you are not in the present, being conscious with your present self and space and the things going on around you and the people around you, you are missing out on your life. You're not connecting with the people around you. You're not creating new memories, right? So living in the present moment, although as we talked about before, can sometimes be negative feelings in the current moment, that is where you live. That is where your life takes place. That is the only thing that's real. So what we really want to do is learn how to be in the present moment, learn how to enjoy the positive emotions, the people around us, the world around us, make connections. And when there's negative emotions or negative things going on, learn to process through them, feel them, have compassion, and just know that that is the other half of life, that you don't get the good without the bad, the happy without the sad, right? And there's this misconception that living in the present moment means being happy all the time. And I hope I've dispelled that here. It is not being happy all the time. It is just being present with what currently is. And sometimes, about 50% of the time, that's going to be negative emotion. But the power of staying in that moment and processing through that emotion is that it dispels it more quickly, because resistance to a negative emotion intensifies the negative emotion. So for those of us who buffer in those various ways, and we all buffer in our own way at different times, by the way, but that buffering, that's resistance. Resisting the negative emotion, trying just to push it away, and that intensifies it. That makes it worse. That makes it harder to get through. That's what makes us want to not be in the present, right? So don't resist it. Be in the present. Allow it. Process through it. And you're going to learn so much from doing that. First of all, you're going to learn how to feel your emotions, because if you've been buffering through them the whole time, like all through your life, learning how to feel is going to be a new thing. So you're going to learn how to feel. You're going to learn the strategies of processing and how it works best for you. You are going to learn from the experience itself. Like, why are you having this negative emotion? What happened? How could I do things differently? How could I think differently? How do I really want to feel? What is the result I want to create here? You can always gain knowledge from every experience you have. An emotion is just a chemical response to a thought you have about something that happens, right? So a couple of ways that you can practice being in the present is through yoga and meditation. A lot of people really like those. I've done those in the past and I do enjoy them. They're just not something that I do regularly or that I'm an expert at. What I do is I try to be really intentional about focusing on moments, just like small random moments even. I've got 4 kids ranging in age from 3 to 9. I'm going to be honest, a lot of the time they drive me crazy. But I try every day for just a moment to just pause and really look at what they're doing and let it soak in. And how funny is it that she said that? And how cool is it that they made that connection with the things that they were like this learning connection, right? Sometimes, well, every night my husband and I sit and watch TV. It's our favorite time to wind down. Actually, it's Netflix, but every once in a while I'll just look over at him and I'll just stare at him, and he's oblivious. He has no idea. But I just sit and think about like everything that is in front of me. I'm like, that's my husband. This is his face. These are the clothes he's wearing. This is his hair. And just think about how much I love this human that is sitting next to me. You can also practice the skill of being happy, which is kind of what I'm doing in these small moments. But you can practice through meditation and yoga, right? Where you think a current thought that makes you happy and you fill yourself with that emotion. You practice feeling that. You also can practice by counting your blessings. Praying. Praying is one of my favorite because you're counting your blessings and you're basically meditating at the same time while you're praying to your Heavenly Father. I think it's killer. Practice exploring or brainstorming thoughts that make you happy and choosing intentionally to think those thoughts and then practicing those thoughts. Another big one is to play. And that's going to look different for a lot of us. Like, I don't normally sit down with my kids and like play with toys with them. Don't find that too engaging personally. But think of it more like just kind of getting lost in your zone, right? Whether that be like playing or listening to music or watching or doing sports or laughing about something that's currently happening. Basically, it's just engaging in silliness and enjoying life the way it is right now in this moment. But here is what I think is the most important skill to learn, is to enjoy the journey. I know that sounds super cliche, so let me be even more specific. To learn and truly believe the truth that now is not any better or worse than yesterday, and yesterday is no better or worse than tomorrow. There is no place to arrive where things are better. So rushing to get to an end result, to a goal, to a less complicated part of life, that's never going to serve you. That's believing that there is better than here. So there's no need to rush. The example of growing children that I used earlier, that's a good example. Having toddlers is super fun and super awful. Having teenagers, I'm sure, is super fun and super awful. Having adult children outside the home, I'm sure, is super fun and super awful. Trying to get a new home is also a good example. Right now, I'm in a house that is almost too big for my family, and it was built in 62, so it's pretty old. It's got some plumbing problems that we have to fix regularly. We've been slowly updating it throughout the years, like pulling off wallpaper, adding new paint. We want to redo bathrooms. And someday in the future, maybe in the next couple of years, I'd like to get a new home. One that's kind of custom built for us and doesn't have the problems of an old house, right? But I do not believe that when I get that new house, I'm going to be any happier in that house than I am right now. Because sure, it'll be newer, but maybe it'll be in a part of town that I don't like as much as this part of town. Maybe I'll have a neighbor I don't get along with. Maybe I'll have issues, my kids will have issues with the school. It's always going to be 50-50. I look forward to having that new home, but I also love the home that I'm in right now. I love my neighbors. I love the different colors of each of the rooms that we've painted. I love that each child finally has their own bedroom because we finished building this second one it was already built, but we had to finish it in the basement. Now they don't keep each other up all night long. So I'm going to enjoy being here, and I'm going to love my house, and I'm going to treat it with respect, and I'm going to take care of it, knowing that when I get my new house, I'm going to love it too. And it's still going to be 50-50. So that's all I've got for living in the present. I encourage you guys to practice some of these skills. I'm sure that you guys will start to see a difference in just enjoying the journey and learning not to try to escape from your reality, but to really have compassion and love and to process through the negative and really live fully and enjoy the positive. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.